Switch off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm here to do a redo of my January book wrap-up. For some reason the last video didn't want to upload. Whatever. I didn't like the video anyway. So it's fine. Anyway, so like I said, I'm here to do my January book wrap-up. I have to admit, a lot of my reading was the entire Princess Diaries series. I meant to do it slowly. Yeah, right. I always loved those books as a kid, and I never finished a series, and I always wanted to, and now I did. Once I started, I couldn't stop. So, put it this way, I read all of them. So I'm not really going to talk about them too much, just because, you can't really, talk about a series without spoiling the series. But suffice it to say that I got a lot of laughs. Princess Mia was a bit more dramatic than I remember. My God. But that's half the fun. And Gra-Mare is terrible. The grandma. That is no Julie Andrews grandma. If you've ever read those books, Gra-Mare ain't no sweet Julie Andrews. Gra-Mare is a lunatic. And, so it's interesting to read the ones where she's an adult. That's why I wanted to read them, because I knew that there were two that came out, in the last few years for when Mia's an adult. But I never finished her high school years. Turns out I only had one left. I thought I had two left of the high school years. But I really only had the last book of her high school years. It was all right. But yeah, I'll give you my star ratings. So I gave Princess Diaries 5 stars, just because it's the first book. I mean, it's the best book. Princess in the Spotlight, I gave 4 stars. Princess in Love, I gave 4 stars. Princess in Waiting, 4 stars. Okay. Project Princess, 3 stars. That's kind of a novella in between 4 and 5. It was fine. They go to build houses for homeless people. It was okay. It was a little too much obsession about kissing Michael in a tent for my liking. Then, let's see. Princess in Pink, I gave 5 stars. I mean, it was hilarious. I'm skipping past these so I can, read them all at once. Princess in Training, I gave 4 stars. That was fine. The Princess Present, I gave 3 stars. It's another novella between books 6 and 7. I'd never read the majority of the novellas because they're not on audio, but I found this one through Brow Institute. It was fun. Michael and Lily go visit her in Genovia. Party Princess, I gave 4 stars. It was, Sweet 16 Princess, I gave 3 stars. That's another little novella. My God, Lily is terrible. I forgot to say that my little overview of the series. Lily Moscovitz, I disliked her before as a kid, but I dislike her more now. She's awful. Then Valentine's Princess, I gave 2 stars. Yeah, this is where Lily shines in her awfulness. Princess on the Brink, 2 stars. Mia is terrible in this book. Can't say why. Spoiler. Princess Mia, I gave 5 stars. That was the last book I read. I, for some reason, thought I had not read it, but apparently I did. And then Forever Princess, I gave 4 stars. It's the last book from when Mia's a kid. Royal Wedding, I gave 5 stars. This is when she's an adult. There's an unexpected death in this book I was not expecting, and I was very sad about. And then The Quarantine Princess Diaries, I gave 5 stars. Oh my God, I did not even know this book existed. The Quarantine Princess Diaries. Mia is a hypochondriac as a kid. But Mia in a pandemic was something that I didn't think I wanted to see. What's the phrase? Something I never thought I'd see. And I never thought I needed to see, but boy, did I. And Gra-Mare is unhinged in this book. And there is a spin-off. I can't really say who the spin-off is for, because that's a huge spoiler in Royal Wedding. And if you haven't read the whole series, yeah. There is another royal in the family, put it that way. And it's her stories, the stories of a middle school princess. I'll probably read those, but like I said, I can't really give details. I can't even talk about them if I did them like in a wrap up, because that would be spoiling stuff that happened in the main series. Like, to read those, you'd have to have read all the books. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the overview of my Princess Diaries read through. Now let's go through the rest of the books. First one I read was Shadows of the Workhouse by Jennifer Worth. I gave this one 3 stars. Basically, I read this because the Recall the Midwife podcast, it's a podcast I listen to where they go over the TV show. And they're in between seasons, they read a book from that Jennifer Worth wrote that the TV show is based on. So that's the second one. So that was my nonfiction for the month. It's the people she knew from the workhouses that came from workhouses. So, yeah. And then I read The Christmas Sisters by Sarah Morgan. I gave this one 4 stars. I actually found this one in an Audible sale. It just looked interesting, and so I grabbed it. And then I found out that Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library read it too. This one is about basically family drama. It takes place in Scotland. Suzanne McBride. She and her husband adopted 3 girls when they were children. Their parents died, and they kind of took them in, and they died under very traumatic circumstances, and their parents were also not super great or responsible parents. So they adopted children with a lot of emotional trauma, and that plays out into their adulthood and kind of their personalities, and they don't always mesh very well. So this is like all of the 3 girls and the parents kind of coming together for the first time in a while to celebrate Christmas, and they all kind of have secrets. One of them secretly wants to go back to work and doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Another one is, well, yeah. I'm not going to say what the other secrets are, but yeah, basically, like, it's family dysfunction, and it is a really good book. It's not family dysfunction to the point where you dislike anyone too much. So that was nice, but yeah, I might read more from Sarah Morgan. I enjoyed it. And I recommend it. And I think, from what I remember from Lindsay's wrap-up, she liked it too, so, yep. Then I read Christmas Bells by Jennifer Chiaverini. I gave this one 3 stars. I'm sorry, Kelly. I heard about this one from Kelly Reads a Lot. I was not into this. I liked the past storyline with, what's his name? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. It talks about like his past and, you know, kind of his history as he's writing this famous poem. His famous poem, Paul Revere's Ride. I haven't read it it's been a while, so I had to look up the name. And then in the present, we kind of see this choir teacher, this music teacher, kind of, I guess, putting together like a Christmas concert with her students. And yeah, I enjoyed the Longfellow stuff, like the past stuff, but I was not really interested in the present day stuff. Like, it was so weird. Each chapter in the present day was by somebody else, and it kind of kept going back to this one moment at the end of every chapter for every person. So it was like, you hear about the story and then you end up right where you started at the end of last chapter, because they're telling what was happening in their lives up until you get to that point, if that makes sense. Like where this choir teacher arrives at the church or whatever. I don't know. I just didn't care about the present day people, because it was more like vignettes, you know, of their lives. Like, I just did not care. But like the Longfellow stuff was interesting. The war stuff, just all of that. So I did give it 3 stars for that reason, because I was interested enough to see what happened with his family. And, well, there is definitely tragedy in his part, but like the present day stuff, I was just like, I don't care. Although I have to admit, the one part that made me laugh in the present day is probably one part that shouldn't make me laugh, when the little boy pretty much used his vocabulary words to insult his older sister. I mean, like, Come on, he did his homework. He was using sentences correctly. Why is he supposed to get grounded? I was on his side. Yes, I know you're supposed to be nice to your sibling, but I don't know. Sister's a brat. Older siblings, yeah. I'll always side with the baby of the family because I'm the baby of the family. Bossy older siblings deserve homework papers with vocabulary words written about them. Jeez. Anyway, I'm a bad person. Next, I read Hello Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. I give this one 3 stars. This is a really popular book that everybody liked, and I did not. It was too character driven for me, I think, and most everybody did things that I did not like and became kind of unlikable people. So basically, it's about this guy named William. His baby sister died. Not his baby sister. She died as a 3-year-old. She died a few days after he was born, so he was the little brother. But she was, anyway. She had meningitis and she passed away, and ever since then, his parents are like, grieving or whatever, and they're just like, we have another kid? Oh, well, too bad. We don't care. And so they kind of ignored him for most of his childhood, and he turned to sports, to basketball, I think. Basketball. And then when he goes to college, he meets his family, the Padovano family. He meets Julia Padovano, and they kind of get together, and he meets the rest of her family. She has 3 sisters. That's why it's kind of supposedly Little Women adjacent. People compare it to Little Women, but they're not really too much like Little Women. I mean, yeesh. Stuff that happens in that does not happen in Little Women. So yeah, like Julia and William kind of are a couple, and he's like drawn into this warm, loving family, and I don't know. It kind of snowballs from there. Things happen, and the family falls apart, and it's kind of, I can't really talk much more about it, but without spoiling the book. But let's just say I ended up very much disliking Julia by the end. And it was I just was not into it. I appreciate that it is one of the best books that was written last year, but it just wasn't for me. So, yeah. Then I read An Amish Christmas. It's like a sort of a short story collection of Amish Christmas stories. I meant to read it in December. I did not. It was okay. It was like 3 little romances. Hold on. My battery's gonna die soon.
Speech on. 20% low power mode. Button. Stop. Speech off. Speech on. Stop recording video. No. Button. Face centered. Speech off.
Okay, sorry. I had to finish this fast, apparently. Then I DNF. Oh, right. An Amish Christmas. Yeah, it was basically a few, like, Christmas short stories. They were, they were okay. Not much to brag about. It was fine. Then I DNF'd. I have some questions for you. I cannot remember who the author is anymore. I forgot to write it down, but it's about this woman who goes to work at the boarding school that she used to go to. And I guess some kind of murder or something happened, but I just wasn't really into the book because it was so meandering and it just would not get to the point. So I was just like, I don't care. Then I read All That Is Mine, I Carry With Me by William Landay. I give this one 5 stars. This is the only book of basically what I was trying to do this past month was read like these new releases that I meant to read last year and I did not. And this one was one of them, and finally I got a hit. This one is about a family. The mother disappears just out of nowhere. She's gone. And the father is accused of essentially killing her. But he's able to prove that he did not. And, he's like a lawyer or an attorney or something, so he knows the tricks to prove his innocence. And no one can really convict him, but so basically, like, the kids end up living with him, obviously, because, you know, he didn't kill anyone according to the law. No one can prove it. And yeah, he didn't kill anyone. So yeah, there's that. So it's kind of them kind of grappling with that. Some of them think he did it, some of them think he didn't. So yeah, it kept you guessing that whole book about whether he killed them or not. Then I read some Melody Carlson because I was like, okay, I need something light. Christmas at Harrington's. I gave this one 5 stars. And it's about Lena Markham. She just got out of jail for a crime she did not commit. And she, you know, is trying to recover her life. And she gets a job at Mrs. Santa because she's wearing a red coat. So she basically, I thought that she was going to be Mrs. Claus, but she's Mrs. Santa, like Santa's a woman. At a department store. And yeah, it was a nice book. I liked it a lot. You know, the town kind of falls in love with her, and she makes friends with the single mom with a kid. I like the kid. And the mom that runs the department store also has a kid, a teenager, I think, who's really nice. And the love interest I enjoy, too, which is kind of a rare thing for me. I don't always enjoy love stories. Then I went on a Cedar Cove kick. So last month, we had the Debbie December readathon. Lizzie from Lizzie Faye Loves Books, and who else did it? The Bookish Knitter? I know Storm Reeves participated. I can't remember. I'll look it up. Anyway, but yeah, I kind of went insane and bought all the Cedar Cove books and depleted my bank account. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to read them because, I mean, I was going to read them anyway, but all of a sudden I'm like really into them. So I read 3. So 16 Lighthouse Road is the first one. I gave it 4 stars. It's kind of hard to talk about the Cedar Cove books just because they kind of, all the stories sort of mingle together from each book. Like, it looks like one is about, every book is based on a certain family, but you kind of see what happens in the other stories from the past books. So, like, this first one is about mainly, like, the big story is this couple that is on the brink of divorce. They lost their baby passed away from a heart defect, and they Judge Olivia Lockhart does not give them the divorce they want. So it's like a controversial decision because she just chooses not to give them this divorce because she thinks that they can work it out. And that journey, and it's also like Olivia's journey to fall in love, and then there's Grace's missing husband and his mysterious disappearance. It's a whole thing. But yeah. Then, okay, I started rereading the Three Pines Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny because Currently Reading Podcast is doing this like bonus episodes every couple of months. Meredith and Roxana are like deep diving into each book. And I didn't want to start the podcast series until I finished all the books. So I finished them all last year. And now I'm restarting them because I want to kind of listen to each podcast episode, but I want to listen after I freshly read the book. So the first one I read was Still Life. It's book 1. I give it 4 stars. I'm not really going to talk about it. I already talked about it in my first wrap-up when I first read it. Then I read A Christmas by the Sea by Melody Carlson. I gave this one 2 stars. And I'd probably be the only one who gave it 2 stars because every Disney fan will squeal. Well, I threw my phone across the room because I was so annoyed at the predictability. Like, at the insta-love at the end. It was just, I was enraged. So, Amanda and Katie, you two Melody Carlson fans can laugh at me for literally flinging my phone across a room at the annoyance of a Disney type ending for this book, but I was so mad. Anyway, it's about this widow and her 12-year-old son. They moved to a beach house in Maine that she inherited from her grandfather. Her intention is to get out of debt, sell it and get out of debt, because basically she's drowning in medical bills from her husband. And so, she that's what she wants. And her son thinks they're going to stay there, and he refuses to hear that they're going to move. And he even signed himself up for school because he wants to stay there. And she keeps putting off telling him that, they're not staying and all that, and let him get his hopes up. And that part already brought the rating down. But the way they end up staying come on, they end up staying. It's a Christmas novella. They end up staying in the end. But the way it happens, I was so mad. That is just so, I don't know. Can the woman solve her own problems? I am not interested in the knight in shining armor. Sorry, Melody Carlson. This one is a no from me. No. 10 times, no. And I just stomped. Yes, I did. Anyway. Then I read The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. I needed a good murder mystery after that Cinderella ending. And this one was perfect. I sort of started reading Sally Hepworth when Keisha from A Book Like You started kind of reading a bunch of her books. Got me to kind of look through my collection and see what I hadn't read yet. And I'd never read this one, so I bought it. And yeah, basically it's about Lucy and her complicated relationship with her mother-in-law, Diana. Diana's kind of prickly, holds her at arm's length. She's very much for helping the poor, but she is not a fan of kind of the sort of wealthy lifestyle that her husband has. And so that kind of makes her a little prickly. There's this one scene where Lucy's picking out a wedding dress, and she's like, ew, you could feed about 20 homeless people with that wedding dress. You know what she means if you're an outsider, but if you're she's right. I mean, I kind of like Diana just for saying that, because I think weddings are dumb. Sorry for anyone who loves weddings. I'm insulting every woman on the planet. I hate dresses. I hate weddings. Weddings are my version of hell. Just bring me... My version of hell would be anywhere I have to dress up. So, yeah. Don't invite me to your wedding. I don't want to be a bridesmaid at your wedding. Ever. Anyway. Wow, I'm in a mood today. You'll see why I'm in a mood if you watch my other video where I did a bookish rant. Anyway, yeah, so, I understand her, and I kind of appreciate her, going this is frivolous expense, and you could feed about 30 cats with, that dress you bought. But, if you're the blushing bride, you don't really appreciate that little jab. So, she's just very much helping everybody else and not so much her own family. So it kind of puts sort of I don't know, it just doesn't endear her to Lucy or to really anyone. It kind of puts them at arm's length because Daddy is all for giving the kids money and stuff. And Diana kind of came from she had a lower income household. So, yeah, anyway. But she dies of mysterious circumstances. She leaves a suicide note, but it soon is clear that it wasn't a suicide because there's traces of poison in her system. And one of the suspects is Lucy because they don't get along very well. And at one point, things actually got a little physical between the two of them. So yeah, it's all kind of weird. So yeah, but the way it kind of unfolds is really good. Can't really say more than that. I can't believe I went on that wedding tirade. Sorry, I've just insulted every woman on the planet within 3 minutes. Very sorry. Go enjoy your weddings. Ignore me, please. I promise I will not rain on any more wedding parades. Then I read Rootless by Crystal Zara Appia. I heard about this one through the Currently Reading podcast from Tina from the Tina from the Book Talk, etc. podcast. I give this one 3 stars. It's about Sam and Effie. Sam comes home and finds his wife, Effie, gone. And he finds out that she went back to her home in... Where does she live? Ghana? Well, she goes home. Yeah, Ghana. So basically she goes to Ghana and like, then we kind of, why did she leave her child? She has a 3-year-old little girl. And we kind of go back to the beginning of their relationship and we see kind of how her and Sam met and how she ended up in the UK and all of that and why she did what she did. There's a lot of trigger warnings for like depression, postpartum. There's an abortion scene I wasn't expecting. Anyway, like they both made decisions that weren't great and I gave it 3 stars. I just, no, wasn't really into it. Then I read The Frozen River by Ariel Lahan. I give this one 5 stars. I loved this book. I kept hearing about it and I was really excited to read it. It takes place in Maine in 1789. It's about a midwife, Martha Ballard. She's actually a real person. This is based on her diaries. And, she is, well, not to swear, but a badass. That's the only word I could think of in the moment. Like, powerhouse woman from the times. She really, like, defends the women even when they do things that, like, that time period would consider scandalous, like having a kid out of wedlock. Like, she really goes after the people who are gossiping about these women who have these kids out of wedlock. Like, she'd be, like, the perfect woman of today. Anyway, so there is, like, a murder that Martha has to kind of investigate. And she has like a diary of events and she's pretty sure that this man is connected to, well, assaults that happened a few months back. They think that that the guy is one of the ones who did it. So yeah. And he is found dead in the river, like frozen solid, essentially. So yeah, it's kind of a midwife story. It's a story about women and birth, but also it's a murder mystery. And there's a trial, and there's like these old-fashioned things I never knew about. Like the fact that back then a woman couldn't take the stand unless her husband was with her. So yeah, you kind of see her frustration with that. I also loved Martha Ballard's family. Like, she has a really good marriage. Like, her husband is very okay with her eccentricities. Like, he doesn't expect her to be the kind of, woman that of her time. So, yeah, he likes that she's different. So, 5 stars. Then I read 204 Rosewood Lane. It's the second book in the Cedar Cove series. I gave it 4 stars. Pretty much the focus of this one is Grace's husband's disappearance. So yeah. Then I read 311 Pelican Court. Give this one 3 stars. This is one that Lizzie Faye talked about loving a lot. And I remember liking it too, but I think I like it less the second time. Basically, this couple divorces, and Judge Olivia Lockhart decides, okay, you guys are going to divorce? Well, I'm going to take you out of your home and you guys have to move back and forth. The kids get to stay in their house. So you guys figure out how you're going to do that. I don't know, get 2 apartments, share an apartment. I don't know. So I'm not sure what her goal was in doing that. Because like in the first book, when she doesn't give these people a divorce, she just decides not to give them a divorce because she thinks they're going to get back together. But in this one, she grants them a divorce and does that to them. And I don't really get it, because it's like, why don't you just grant a separation if you want to get them back together? Like, if that's the goal. Because realistically, if you actually did this in real life, how would that work? Like, at some point, the kids are going to have to start moving back and forth, because let's say that, well, this doesn't happen, but what if they each had a new partner? Is the new partner supposed to go back and forth? And the new children that come from that new partner? Like, I guess I kind of like, I see like the justice of it all. Like, you're ruining our lives, so you guys get to do all the moving. We get to stay in our beds. Good. You guys suck for divorcing. But I don't really see how that would actually work realistically. So I don't know. I think I just started thinking about it too much, and I gave it 3 stars. Also, there is someone's pregnant and she doesn't want to tell the dad because she wants to do it by herself, and the guy is very nice, and I was mad at her for it. So yeah. Then skipping past all these Princess Diaries books, because literally I went on, like, I just went insane just finishing them, so I stopped reading everything else. So yeah, the last book I ended up reading was Walk 2 Moons by Sharon Creech. I gave this one 5 stars. This was actually one of my favorite books as a little kid. I don't know why, because it is such a complicated story, and I'm sure I did not grasp it when I was 6. But my mom got it for me from the library. I think she just saw a girl on the cover, probably, and thought it was cool. But it's about this 13-year-old girl. She moves to this little town after her mom leaves, and apparently isn't coming back. And yeah, like her life in that town, like it's hard to explain the format of the story. Basically, she moves there, and we see her move, and then we go forward in time, like a year. I don't know how much forward in time, but the present day is when Sal, the girl, is going on a road trip with her grandparents to see her mother in Lewiston, Idaho. And it's like a 7-8 day road trip. And she tells them the story of her friend, Phoebe, from the time that she moved to this little town away from her farm in Kentucky. And Phoebe is kind of a hypochondriac. She's very scared of everything. And I think what I liked about it was Phoebe, the book, as a kid. There's this guy that she thinks is following them around, and she calls him the lunatic, and she's always like, he could have a knife. He could be trying to murder us. He could be chopping us up into little pieces. Like, it was the scare factor that I enjoyed. But there's so much more to this book. Like, you see so many other things in it, like depression, and there's a baby like a baby dies. It's like way more than what I thought it was, even after like repeated readings of it as a kid. It was so interesting to read it as an adult. I mainly read it because I found the copy. Well, it's a copy of the book that I listened to as a kid, because now there's a new narrator. If you get it from Audible, it's narrated by this woman named Hope Davis. And I was not interested in Hope Davis's narration. I wanted Kate Harper, who narrated the cassettes I used to listen to as a kid. So I found Kate Harper's version on CD. And yeah, I listened to it. I got it on Amazon. I actually found that along with a cheap version of the Angels series, the first 3 Angel books by Debbie Macomber. So I got both of those. I got the last copy. I was so excited. So yeah, anyway, I'm probably going to reread those with the better narrator at some point, maybe soon. I'm just excited to have them. Did you know that you can put CDs in a DVD player? I didn't, because I don't have a CD player anymore. So that's how I'm listening to them, on my DVD player. Anyway, that is all the books I read. Sorry again about the wedding rant. It just happened. Some things just happen. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Speech off. Stop recording video.